Good evening, everybody. I've been working on something here in the shop for the car that has turned out really well, and I'm excited to show it to you guys. This is not it. This is one of the original vent window assemblies to my car, and you can see that, you know, the weather stripping is just absolutely shot to hell. The hardware on the bottom of this thing is all rusted. The glass is scratched, the chrome is pitted, the stainless looks like shit. You know, it just goes on and on forever and ever. And I'll show you another good example. Like, when they built these things, even back in the day, you see the glass setting tape right there, how it doesn't fit worth a crap around the edge? Nobody ever took the time back in 1967 to actually build these things like they gave a damn. And so I recently took it upon myself that I decided I would do one window at a time. That way I had an original that I could look at and see how the new one was supposed to go. And, you know, this is an original window assembly. This is obviously the one I haven't done yet, and I'm just absolutely tickled with the way that it has turned out. It looks absolutely brand new. I have learned quite a bit in restoring one of these vent windows, and I've learned what to do and what not to do, so I just wanted to throw a couple of things y'all's way of some pitfalls not to fall in as I have done. Okay, first things first, my car is going to be all blacked out. That means that my stainless trim you see here and then the chrome frame is all going to be powder coated black. The first thing I want to tell you is if you're blacking out a car as I am doing, be aware that this really thin stainless steel trim, and we're not just talking about this one piece of trim, but just thin stainless in general. If you media blast this stuff, be aware that media blaster is going to warp it. When I first did these pieces, they were kind of like curved. They weren't straight anymore. Matter of fact, you can see that one's not really on there very well or straight to begin with. But when you put this stuff in the blaster, it actually makes it worse. So just be aware that if you're going to media blast your stainless steel trim, I do recommend blast that stuff at a very, very low pressure. Don't go after it, you know, really hard as I did, because if you don't realize it, you will sit there and warp that trim. Hold on, buddy. Daddy's making a video, okay? Next up, you have got to separate your frame that you see right here, your glass, from your frame. The way that I found to do that, and I tried it all, was to take a long, thin screwdriver and basically after you pull the frame apart, jam this thing right up in the end of it and just inch just a little bit of it apart at a time. Spray you some PB Blaster up inside there, kind of work that screwdriver around. So like if I wanted to take this apart, I'd run that screwdriver right up in between those two pieces, work it a little bit, spray a little bit more PB Blaster, and just go over and over again until I finally had the thing apart. This is one of those things where, you know, it's a battle of inches. If you try and get this done quickly, you will bust your window or destroy your trim, whatever, but whatever happens, it ain't going to be good. Take your time, put a lot of oil up inside there. So here's the thing with the glass setting tape. I've got some glass setting tape. I've got some right here. So all this is just thin rubber, basically. Measure the thickness of your glass setting tape that's coming out of your car. I measured mine, and it was about a 1/16 of an inch. So naturally, I ordered 1/16 glass setting tape. So basically, the way that this stuff works is you have this channel, okay, that's like a C-shaped channel. It's like this. Your glass comes up inside of it like that. And then your glass setting tape goes in the middle like this. Now, when you go to take your glass and put it up inside of your channel, the couple things that I found that's really a good thing to do is have a look in this picture here. You can see that I'm using tape and clamps to hold my glass setting tape in place so that everything doesn't move on me as I try and put it all together. The other piece of advice that I'll give you is wipe this stuff down with kerosene. Kerosene makes it really slippery on the front end and sticky on the back end. I feel like there's a dirty joke in there, but I'm not doing it. So the thing about kerosene is it'll allow you to put everything together, but once you put it together, then it starts really, you know, setting up almost like glue and holds everything in place. Once you get it in place, I recommend doing, as you can see in this shot right here, and using a great big clamp to hold everything in place overnight. Give it 24 hours. Don't screw with it. Just let it sit there and let the kerosene do its job on the rubber for 24 hours.
Are you done?
Nope. I am excited to tell you that I am doing my own home zinc plating. This is one of my little zinc plated parts here. This is also zinc plated. It's actually been dipped in yellow chromate. So it started off looking like this. Now it looks like this. So I'm learning how to do my own zinc plating. That's going to be in an upcoming video here in the near future after I work out a few more kinks where I can, tell you guys something a little bit more solid than, this sort of works, da-da-da. But I am doing my own plating at home, and I'm really excited to show you that here in the near future. Another thing that I want to share with you is, if you'll notice up inside of this channel, you have this window fuzzy that goes in here. Got a piece of it right there. That's basically what you're looking at. You cut it to length. It slides up inside of here. Be very careful in that you've got this stainless steel trim that goes down the side of the vent windows. And naturally, this applies to lots of other cars, not just my 67 Nova. Watch out for how that stainless steel trim interferes with that fuzzy, because if you'll notice, let's see if you can see that, the stainless trim kind of wraps around the edge and holds the fuzzy in place. So if you were to put this trim on there and then start trying to hammer the fuzzy in there, it ain't gonna go well. What I actually ended up doing was taking mine and then sliding it up inside of here and kind of bringing it in that away rather than going in that away. So just pay close attention to your stainless trim and how your fuzzies go together, because in this case, the stainless actually holds the window fuzzy in place.
Are you done yet?
Almost. So here a minute ago, I mentioned that the glass setting tape that you can see right there on the original just looks like crap. Listen, if you want these things to look really nice and clean, so you get that kind of a look right there where, everything has absolutely nothing extra, do like I'm showing in this shot right here and just run a razor blade around the outside edge and pull off that little bit of excess, and you get a really clean looking window when you do that. Hey, be quiet, buddy. Be quiet. Daddy's shooting a video. Unfortunately, with my 67 Nova vent window, you'll notice that I've got an original stainless steel rivet right there that holds the outer frame and then the inner, window frame together. In order to get these things apart, in my case, I actually had to grind that rivet completely gone and then ultimately replaced it with what you see right there. A little, stainless steel nut and bolt with a lock nut on it. I hated to have to do that and sit there and grind away original stainless. But if you wanted to restore the thing and do it right, that's what I had to do in my case. It is what it is. Hold on, buddy. Another good piece of advice. So I originally thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to polish up the glass in this car and reuse the glass. So I ran off and I spent $60 on a glass polishing kit. And the trouble with this is, if you have serious scratches like I do on some of my windows, you can probably almost even hear my finger running across the scratches right there. Can you see those really deep scratches in my windows? Don't run off and try and polish your windows and whatnot. It occurred to me that even after I had restored my windows from this to this, I've still got to pay somebody, to tint these things. I got all 6 brand new windows on eBay, no polishing, no scratches, pre-tinted for $260. I was probably going to give $200 just to have those windows tinted. So before you run off and start trying to restore old glass and spend money doing it, just consider that this stuff is really cheap online, and it may not be worth it putting money and time into old glass trying to make it look new. One final piece of advice that I want to leave with you, and this is, again, if you are blacking out your components like I am. This little piece right here, this is a cast piece, and I kind of learned the hard way in trying to powder coat these cast pieces that the cast stuff tends to hold impurities inside of it better than anything else. You can kind of see some of the little spots, and I don't know, boils you want to call them, right there on this piece. What I had to do to ultimately get those pieces clean enough where I could use them and powder coat them is I put them in an oven at 475 for 45 minutes, pulled them out, let them cool off, and then cleaned the oil on the outer surface off of it. Did that a couple of times, and then when it was done, after it finally gotten and baked all of the oil out of the parts, I then went over it with some sanding paper and got it sanded down back down to bare metal. The first time that I tried powder coating those little parts, and I didn't bother to do that, it just turned out like total crap. So if you're trying to do cast parts and powder coat them black like that, just be aware you're gonna have to pre-bake that stuff, and when you do that, it brings all of the oil up to the surface. We can finally clean it off. That's the way to go. One last thing that I want to share with you as well. Powder coating is thick, so when you go to powder coat something like that stainless steel trim right there, you got to realize that you're adding surface area to these really, really tight seams like that right there. So if you're going to shoot powder on this stuff, try your best to shoot as little of it as possible, because once you take that, you blast it down, and then you coat it in powder, you will find that as you're trying to slide it in place, as you can see I have done right there, it is really, really tight. So I recommend putting as little powder on it as you possibly can. So anyways, there you go, guys. I'm really happy with how my first vent window turned out. I'm excited to do the other vent window. I am going to go ahead and take some masking tape and just cover up, these shiny edges that I want to protect during the rest of the build. So really happy with how it came out. Just wanted to share that stuff with you guys. I hope you guys are picking up on some of my mistakes and learning from me. So anyways, yeah, I generally say, learn with me, not from me, because God knows I found several ways to do this stuff wrong this time around. Hope y'all are learning something. You guys have a great evening. Take care. Subscribe if you want to.